Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Harlequin Soothing Sunday. I am Michelle Major and I will be reading to you today from my newest release, Mistletoe Season, with the most adorable cover. The art department just knocked it out of the park on this one. And Mistletoe Season, which is out now, tells the story of two kind of battered and lost souls, Angie and Gabe, who find some renewed hope and a second chance at love during the holidays. It is the second book in my Carolina Girls series and set in the fictional town of Magnolia, North Carolina. And today I am coming to you from my local cat rescue here in Colorado. It is called Happy Cats Haven. Let me introduce you to one of my coworkers and live audience members for the day. If we are not connected on social media, what the heck? You can find me at michellemajor.com or let's see, I am Michelle Major Books on Facebook, and Michelle Major Author is my Instagram handle. And one of the things my family does that I feel really blessed to be a part of is we foster kittens for Happy Cats, and they do the most amazing work rehabilitating and rehoming and finding just perfect families for these cats, and we're really happy to take part in that. You can see this little baby. They are, I will be honest, I have a special place in my heart for black cats because I have two of them of my own at home. So when Harlequin asked me to do the Soothing Sunday, I thought, you know, why don't I do it at Happy Cats? Because then, to me, there's nothing that puts a smile on your face more than a cute animal. So, and in most of my books, including Mistletoe Season, there are rescue animals because that's just something very important to me. And also, again, cuteness overload. So if we aren't friends or you follow me on social, please do that. And if you do decide to add a furry friend to your family, definitely be sure to check out your local animal rescues, because wherever you are, I know they're doing great work. So me and my sweet little buddy here, hello, I hope they bring a smile to your face. And so if we have background noise, I also hope you will forgive that, but I think it's worth it. So I'm going to start with the first chapter of Mistletoe Season, and thank you again for being here with me. Chapter 1, Glasses Help. Angie Gallardi let herself out of Il Rigatoni, the restaurant her family had owned in Magnolia, North Carolina for the past 30 years, and locked the door behind her. It was nearly 11 at night, and a brisk December wind whipped down Main Street. Although she should be wearing more than a white button-down, now stained with smatterings of red sauce, Angie welcomed the gust of air. At least it blew away the smell of sausage and tomato paste that clung to her like a barnacle. Scents that seemed to be infused into her at this point, bringing back memories of years of a childhood spent in and out of the restaurant. It had been a long day, so she needed a shower and a glass of wine in equal measure. She started toward her car, parked around the corner, but the sound of a door slamming nearby caught her attention. Downtown Magnolia rolled up the sidewalks early on a weeknight, so she didn't expect anyone else to be out and about. She arched her brow at the woman approaching. Are you stalking me? Emma Cantrell gave an impatient snort as she moved closer. That's what it feels like, but it wouldn't be necessary if you'd return my calls or answer messages. Angie turned to fully face her business partner, now former partner. I've been busy, she said, trying to make her tone dismissive. Instead, the words reeked of desperation. How's your mom? Emma asked gently, her annoyance with Angie temporarily put aside because clearly Emma was a good person. Too good for Angie to be ignoring her the way she had. Equally weak and ornery, Angie dropped the oversized set of keys into her purse with a jangle. The doctor says 2 more weeks and then she can slowly begin to resume her normal activities, like running Il Rigatoni. We don't know yet if she'll ever return at the same capacity. Angie bit down on the inside of her cheek until she tasted blood. It doesn't matter because I'm running it now. But only temporarily, Emma insisted, or suggested, like saying the words out loud would make them true. Oh, how Angie wanted them to be true. She gave a small shake of her head. No more time for fanciful thoughts or big dreams about making her life her own. Unable to meet Emma's sympathetic gaze, she looked across the street to the storefronts decorated in festive holiday cheer. Colorful twinkle lights danced in the darkened window of the hardware store, and she could make out the shadow of garland wound through the sign for the dance studio. Boughs of greenery with bright red bows hung from every light post on either side of the street. Magnolia had gone all out on the holiday cheer this year. Too bad Angie didn't feel much of the holiday spirit. Sure, she'd gone through the motions of assembling the fake Christmas tree that had graced the corner of the restaurant's small waiting area each December for as long as she could remember. During a lull in customers yesterday, she and one of the waitresses had pulled out the totes of decorations from the storeroom, but nothing managed to conjure up the magic of the season. Not for her. I'm sorry I let you down, she told Emma, thankful her voice remained steady. I've got calls into a couple of caterers in the area to see if they can. I don't want another caterer. Emma stepped forward. You're it, Ange. I can't. She swallowed when a lump of sorrow lodged in her throat. I never should have deserted my mom in the first place. If she hadn't been working so much and upset about me, maybe the heart attack wouldn't have happened. Sweetie, you aren't to blame for that. She almost died, Angie insisted, needing to make it clear. Less than a year after my father, she collapsed in the restaurant storeroom and I wasn't here. You were at the inn. Having a grand old time, not a care in the world. My mom was fighting for her life, surrounded by employees until the EMTs got there, and I wasn't with her when she needed me the most. Stop. Emma held a hand up. I remember that day, Angie. It was the McElvey wedding, complete with the bride's niece and her tiny Irish dancer friends pounding away on the parquet floor we assembled in the backyard. You made food for over 100 guests, plus lunch baskets for the Thompson reunion and their picnic at the beach. 5 of the 6 online reviews that came from those 2 events mentioned the food being a highlight. You care a lot, so don't pretend otherwise, not with me. Emma still didn't get it. I should have cared more about my mom, the way she did when I needed her. She looked so pale, Em. Angie crossed her arms over her middle, squeezing tight. I kept waiting for her eyes to pop open so she could start ordering me around or give me some kind of guilt trip. But she was still in the hospital bed with the monitors beeping, the smell of antiseptic permeating everything. She needs me now, and I can't let her down. What about letting yourself down? What about your happiness? Angie sniffed. Doesn't matter. It should. I'm sorry, Angie said again. She'd met Emma in the spring when the other woman bought an old mansion in town with a plan to turn it into a boutique inn. Emma had had her share of setbacks, but Angie admired her dedication to her dream. She also knew that leaving her old life behind had cost Emma her relationship with her mother. Angie's mom had been very outspoken in the way only Italian mothers can manage when Angie walked away from the restaurant to partner with Emma on the inn. But Angie assumed that her mom would get over her disappointment, that they'd find a way to bridge the emotional distance between them. She loved her mom, even if Bianca Gallardi could be overbearing and autocratic. The willful matriarch had good intentions, but they never got the chance to mend their fences because a month earlier, Bianca had suffered a massive heart attack that led to a double bypass surgery. In an instant, all of Angie's plans changed. She'd moved from her cozy apartment back to her childhood home along with her 10-year-old son, Andrew, in order to care for her mom. She'd also stepped in at the restaurant, and in doing so, she'd left Emma in a pinch. If you can't find someone to take care of the holiday events, I'll still manage it, she offered now, absently thinking about ways to clone herself. You can't do both. I will. Emma sighed. My intention for tonight wasn't to guilt you into more work. Come on, I'm a master of guilt. I know. Emma gave her a pointed look. That's why I don't want to add to it. I thought we were friends, business partners as well, but you cutting me off as a friend is what hurts. Cue the remorse, Angie thought. She didn't need anyone to lay it on her. She could do that very well for herself. It seems like all I'm doing lately is disappointing people, you and my mom. She hitched a finger at the restaurant. The staff who can tell I don't want to be there? Andrew? Wait, what's going on with Andrew? I know you're an amazing mother. That kid thinks the sun rises and sets on his mommy. Angie's throat tightened again at the thought of her sweet, awkward, lanky string bean of a boy. He was everything to her, and now he was struggling, and she didn't know how to make it stop. He's being bullied at school, she confided. As difficult as it was to talk about, she appreciated the flash of supportive fury in Emma's dark eyes. Give me the kid's name. Her buttoned-up friend spoke as if she were some kind of avenging angel. I don't have it. Andrew won't say anything, and his classmates are keeping quiet. But he came home with a split lip and scrapes on his hands. I talked to the teacher and met with her and the principal. They all said the right things, but kids can be such jerks. Maybe if we lived in a bigger town or someplace where differences were more accepted, it would be easier for him to find his way. I hated growing up in Magnolia, and now I'm doing the same thing to him. Her nails dug into the fleshy part of her palms, and she welcomed the pain. At least it distracted her from the telltale scratchy eyes that foretold a bout of tears. She wasn't going to break down in the middle of the sidewalk, even if it was deserted. How is it possible to hate it here? Emma shook her head. It's idyllic. Not for the Italian cannoli princess, Angie muttered. Is that like a Midwestern corn queen at the state fair? Not exactly, never mind. My point is that I'm screwing up in every aspect of my life. I'm sorry I ghosted you, Em. We were friends, but I didn't want to admit I was ditching the inn. You gave me a new start when I wanted it, and I can't keep up my end of the bargain. She let out a humorless laugh. Here comes the guilt again. I didn't give you anything. You earned your place in our partnership, which I refuse to believe is over. At least until your mom fully recovers and we see what happens next. I'll find someone to help with the nitty-gritty food prep and serving, but I'm going to take you up on your offer to manage things for the holidays. As long as it's not too much, we can reassess in the new year. She enveloped Angie in a gentle hug and couldn't have known how much it helped. Either way, the friendship stands. Okay. Angie couldn't help but agree. She wasn't ready to let go of her dream, even though she knew she had to. She dashed a hand over her cheeks. Do you believe in Christmas miracles? Not really. Me neither, Angie agreed with a wry smile, but I could sure use one. She half expected her miracle to materialize after the conversation with Emma. She'd gone home feeling lighter than she had in weeks, like there might be a glimmer of hope. She could control her own destiny after her mother recovered. The next morning dashed that hope like a late season snowfall and a delicate spring bloom. Mom, I don't need a date. I don't have time for a date. Bianca sat at the kitchen table, tapping one finger on the polished oak top as she glanced between her daughter and the laptop open in front of her. There's always time for love, she insisted, like she was imparting some deep wisdom. I have a date with the drop-off line at school, Angie countered, then glanced at the clock on the wall. Drew, come on, she called as she glanced above her. You need to eat breakfast so we can go, buddy. Don't call him that, her mother tisked. Such a ridiculous name. Angie gritted her teeth. It's not ridiculous. He looks like an Anthony, her mother said. Where was the bottle of headache medicine when Angie needed it? She'd been having the debate about her son's name since the day of his birth. Bianca adored her grandson, but she couldn't understand why he didn't have a traditional Italian name, something to honor an older relative or dead ancestor. Angie had tried for years to explain to her mother that she liked the name Andrew and wanted her child to choose how much he would embrace his heritage, not have his identity defined by a name. Luckily, Bianca never voiced her disappointment in front of Drew, but it was an ongoing and useless debate with Angie. "Now, Andrew," Angie shouted, then turned her attention to her mom. "I'm meeting with Aldo Caferno to discuss our monthly order before we open, and then I'll be back to take you to the doctor after lunch. He's charging way too much for their meats." "He's a good boy," her mom said. "We've been doing business with the family for years, so I'm sure they are giving her a fair price." "How old is Aldo now?" "He's married old." Angie dumped her coffee into the travel mug, cursing when it sloshed over the rim. "His younger brother Artie is still single. Too much caffeine makes you jittery," her mother said. "We can talk about potential dates when you get back." "No men." Angie said the words like a plea. "I'm a man." Andrew pointed as he came into the kitchen. He wore a striped sweatshirt and baggy jeans that she knew were hitched in at the waist by the growth button sewn into the fabric. His backpack looked like it might be heavy enough to make him topple over, but Angie knew her son was stronger than he appeared. "My best little man." Angie made to ruffle his hair as he walked toward the table, but he ducked out of reach. "I'm not that little." Her heart stuttered at the sound of defiance in his tone. "Getting bigger every day," she agreed. "Give your Nona a kiss." Bianca opened her arms wide, shooting Angie an accusatory glance over Andrew's shoulder. "My strong Italian prince." Next, Angie could just imagine her mother blaming Andrew's social issues on the name she'd given him. She wondered if it was actually possible to grind her teeth to dust. As Andrew ate his breakfast, Angie finished emptying the dishwasher, started a load of laundry, and then kissed her mother's forehead, the son of Shalimar taking her back to more innocent times. "What do you think about a hair appointment next week?" She finger-combed her mom's curls, fresh highlights and a trim. "That would be lovely," Bianca said, tucking a lock of hair behind her ear. "But I don't want to be too much trouble. I know you have better things to do than be a burden taking care of me." Angie's cheeks hurt with the effort to remain smiling. You're not a burden, Mom." Before her mom could heap more passive-aggressive guilt onto the already overflowing pile, Angie herded her son out the door. She tried to bring up the situation at school as they drove, but Drew kept steering the conversation back to his ever-growing Christmas list. His small hands gripped the straps of his camo patterned backpack so tightly his knuckles turned white. It broke her heart to see him hurting and not be able to help. Memories of her own struggles fitting in assailed her. Not for the first time, she contemplated whether she could add homeschooling to her list of to-dos. "I'm fine, Mom," he said as he opened the door, flashing a gap-toothed grin. When had she become Mom instead of Mommy? The hits just kept on coming. So again, thank you for being with me today. Happy Sunday. I hope you will check out a copy of Mistletoe Season, and I think you'll find that our poor struggling single mom, Angie, has some great things in store for her this holiday season. And I certainly hope that you and your family also have some fabulous things in store. So goodbye from me and the kitties at Happy Cats Haven here in Colorado, and have a wonderful rest of your day.